time for Criminal Law 101
with criminal defense attorney Ken Eulo from the law firm of Smith Eulo
on 101.1 WJRR.
All right, we are Orlando's rock station. Ken Eulo from Smith Eulo is here as on Mondays at this time. What's up, man?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Good. We were just discussing me losing a whole garbage bag full of dirty clothes. But Ken knows what I'm talking about, Pat. When you have that favorite pair of shorts, or in this case, favorite baggies and all my other shorts that I really like, and then my Hey Dude shoes.
I'm really starting to come to the conclusion that you're emotionally devastated over this loss over the weekend.
It's just that I have to go to the store and actually shop, and I'm a dude, and I don't do that. You know?
And you have to find the right length, the right fit, the right color. It's like...
Sounds so stupid because I get my shorts at Costco.
Right?
I mean, it's really simple, but it...
Are they going to have the right one this time, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. It's seasonal. He understands my pain. You have a good weekend?
I had a great weekend. How about you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Other than losing all your clothes.
Yeah. He was fully nude driving home.
We had a surf festival, which, by the way, if you're in Cocoa Beach and looking for something to do, it's still going on today. The finals are happening.
Taco, did we have some listeners who were looking for some help this week? If not, I got some stuff that I wanted to bring up with Ken this morning that was big in the news here locally, especially over the last week.
We have to buzz through some of these listener texts and emails. Remember, you can email Ken directly at ken@smithandyulo.com. That's Smith, the word A-N-D, E-U-L-O. Ken's last name.com.
Criminal defense attorneys, so they run the gamut of anything that comes up under that umbrella. They can help you. It could be anything from a criminal DUI offense to murder.
Yep.
All the way.
And everything in between.
Yep. And they do a feature on Fridays where right here on JRR where they can get you out of a ticket if you're the person that's picked weekly, WJRR.com/contest for that.
Yeah, if you want to get on that, maybe they can help you get out of a pickle there.
All right, you ready? You said if we had listener questions.
Yeah, throw a couple listener questions out, and then I wanted to ask him about this Sabal Point Elementary controversy here before we wrap up this morning.
I'd be a pissed off parent if my kid was at school. Anyway, I have 3 felony convictions, 1 federal to local. Is it possible to get those expunged or sealed?
We probably get about 30 calls per day on that exact point. Unfortunately, there's no remedy. If you have any sort of conviction on your record, even if it's a low level, even if it's not a felony, let's assume you have a driving on suspended license and it's a conviction, that's it. You're forever barred in Florida from ever getting your record sealed or expunged.
Really?
All the way through. Yeah, it pretty much limits. Sometimes people go out and they hire a public defender or they go with the public defender's office and they're at that first appearance and they'll give them the opportunity to resolve a lot of these cases. Like, let's assume you have like a really low level offense. They will give you the opportunity to resolve those kind of low level cases at first appearance. And a lot of times you don't think about it. You're just like, I want to be done with this case. You'll plea out at that first appearance, time served, done, you leave. And then you wake up, a few months later and you're like, man, I want to get that off my record. That conviction right there at first appearance can forever bar you from ever having your record sealed.
Does an adjudication withheld reflect on your permanent record?
So adjudication withheld, that will affect what you can seal. But it'll depend on the offense. So if you have kind of lower level offenses, first degree misdemeanors, most third degree felonies, you can get those sealed off your record if you have a withhold of adjudication. That being said, there are...
Do you do that at that time or after the fact? You have to go back and try to have it sealed. How does that work?
So once the case is resolved, let's assume you're done with probation, or let's assume there's no probation, and you just get a withhold, pay court costs, be done with it. You can immediately start applying to get your record sealed. Takes about 6 months.
You need an attorney for that?
In theory, I've walked through in my head, how could a person who's not an attorney do that? I think the initial application to FDLE you could do yourself. That's pretty straightforward. You go to FDLE, it tells you exactly how to do that sealing application. Send it off, send your fingerprints off, copy of the record. I could see a regular person being able to do it. Once you get it back from FDLE, though, you have to submit paperwork to the state attorney's office and to the court system, file a motion, get an order from the court.
That's where you get in the weeds a little bit if you're on your own.
Yeah, I think the average person might struggle a little bit with drafting motions and having court orders and getting it over to the judicial assistant, things like that.
That's where you look and you say, it's out of my pay grade. Let me call a lawyer.
What else we got, Taco?
How do you find out a lawyer's success rate for a specific type of crime? Is there a way that people can kind of look and say, okay, their success rate for boom?
You know, I'm going to say this. I think that saying success rate for a certain type of crime is and I don't want to be insulting to the question, but I think it's kind of a weird question in terms of what is success, right? Like, are we talking about getting a case just flat out dismissed? Or are we talking about, let's assume the guy has a 25-year minimum mandatory prison sentence and we're getting the person down to 3 years.
Okay.
Right? So, I mean, you might look at a record and, say, hey, the guy, doesn't have a lot of dismissals, but he might have a ton of cases where he's getting cases where a person should be going to prison and getting them probation, or getting a person who's getting cases where he should be going to prison for 25, 30 years and getting them 3 years. Right. So to me, those are true.
So the two definitions of success could be completely different depending on whose perspective it's coming from.
Right. I mean, I've seen a lot of lawyers. I mean, lawyers have different profiles, right? Like in terms of how they pursue cases. I'm a very risk averse person in terms of, I'm not going to push every single case to trial. There's lawyers that will push every single case to trial. I mean, trial. And sure, they're going to have some really awesome wins, but they're going to have some horrible losses where people's lives are ruined, right? Where they don't care. Let's just push it.
Where they could have just settled before that.
So, I mean, it's different style of lawyering, in my opinion, right? So I think I think that question's a little bit loaded. I think you have to kind of talk to the lawyers and get a feel for what their style is.
And what is your goal?
Yeah,
what's your goal here with your charges?
Exactly, right? I mean, because, think about this. Let's assume you got arrested for something, and you wanted, my only goal is I don't want to go to jail. That's my only goal. And if you go to trial, you might win. You might walk away with absolutely no consequences. But if you lose, you're going to prison, right? Yeah. And I have an offer for you for some probation, withhold court costs, and call it a day. What do you want to do here?
That's
right?
it. Right.
I got you.
I'm taking it. Really quick one before we get to what you were talking about, Pat, with Sabal or whatever. Do you do defamation lawsuits? Somebody was asking. Defamation
lawsuits is very specific to civil practice areas, so you'd have to look for a civil lawyer that specifically goes after those types of cases. It's very specific. I mean, a lot of lawyers in town who do civil work, a lot of times you're looking at car accidents and people getting hurt, things like that. Defamation cases is a very niche genre.
But you know people that do, so if they get in touch with you, I'm sure you probably...
Defamation can go to criminal in nature, though, right? In some cases?
I mean, I'll tell you this. I've done this 15 years, and I've never seen a case where a person just... Now, I will say this. Defamation can play over in criminal in the aspect of if they're lying to law enforcement, right? If they're creating lies about somebody to law enforcement, then that can kind of go over into the criminal aspect of it. But simply saying something about somebody online that isn't true, it's more of you're suing them for economic damages. It's not really a criminal thing.
Let's get your perspective on this huge story that has been getting a lot of attention here locally over the last week. A 24-year-old teaching assistant at an elementary school in Seminole County self-reported to the school resource officer that he had thoughts of literally harming / killing a 6-year-old student who he was having a difficult time with. And then he had further thoughts about bringing a gun to school and just...
I'm trying to picture this scenario, right? Like an officer, you just walk up to the officer and say, "Hey, by the way, I was thinking about going crazy, but I'm not. I just wanted to let you know."
And so right? he that's the line. He does that, and then the officer, I guess, informs the school district.
Yeah.
Who at some point this news gets back to the parents almost 2 weeks later of students who go to this school that this character was working there, and nothing really had been done to inform them initially of this threat, even though the guy came out and said, hey, I got some issues here.
We all have kids, and I think it hits us harder. But even if you don't have kids, you have to look at this story and say, that is just, ooh.
I mean, right? I mean, you're looking at it from different lenses, right? Like you're looking at it from like a moral lens, and also from. I mean, there's no crime here. If that's,
I knew he was going to say it. I mean, he's right though.
And he's right.
He is right. It's a crime, though, in a lot of our minds that they didn't inform those parents that morally criminal. I guess is what you're.
And I'll interject and say that obviously. I have a son, and obviously that would terrify me to hear that happened at his school. But from a criminal perspective, right? You can't punish people really for things they thought about. I mean, that's not really people don't punish for thoughts. But yeah, I mean, I think that.
Oh man,
I mean, I wouldn't be happy. I would be terrified if my son had been going to that school. So
but at the end of the conversation, nothing criminal done.
No, I mean, it's like that, it's almost like that movie with Tom Cruise where he the Future Police or whatever. Yeah. I'm not sure if you guys ever saw that one.
I do know what you're talking about.
Right, where things that might happen in the future, and they go and I think it's like Minority Report.
Yes, Minority Report. That's a very confusing movie, but
it's like the prognition. The people who say this is going to happen because you thought this,
Oh, one last thing before we let you go, Ken.
Yeah.
So this big shooting over the weekend at this bar in South Carolina, multiple people killed, 20 people injured. Police are currently investigating several persons of interest. Is there a designation between the word suspect and term person of interest?
It's probably used somewhat interchangeably. I think that person of interest is probably just shy of this is the person we think did it.
They want to leave wiggle room.
A little bit of wiggle room, right? Like we probably think this person did it, but we're not 100%. So let's leave that lingo out. But I would say it's probably used pretty interchangeably. Okay. I mean, I've heard usually the person of interest is the person that gets arrested and charged with the crime.
All right. Ken, we really appreciate it. Again, it's Smith and Eulo criminal defense attorneys. If you need their services, Taco, again, the contact point.
Yeah, it's smithandeulo.com is the website if you want to hit Ken directly. Ken at smithandeulo.com.
Ken, we'll see you next Monday.
Good seeing you guys. See you guys.
Lynch and Taco. Download the iHeartRadio app.